Welcome to the College Football Bros. I am Michael Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
All right, this is the first of 4 episodes previewing every team in the college football playoff. On today's episode, we're going to go over the reasons why Notre Dame will or won't win the national championship. In the next few days, we'll do the same for Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama, of course. So be sure to subscribe, hit the thumbs up if you like the show, and let us know in the comments how you think Notre Dame's gonna do in the playoff. Give us your prediction. Let's start with the positive here. Let's start with the reasons why they're going to win it. Notre Dame's going to win it all. I'm convinced of it.
They can do it, man.
It's a sure thing. Let's start with the offense, Ryan. What do you think?
Notre Dame's got a good offense this year. Hey, if they want to keep things close, which I think the main thing for them is just to win that turnover battle. They're +7 on the year in that particular category, so they've obviously been very good taking care of the ball. Ian Book, he doesn't throw a lot of picks. He's only thrown 2 this year, so he takes care of it. He's also makes good choices. They have a good ground game as well, led by Kyren Williams. He went over 1,000 yards even in the shortened season. Ian Book can also run. He ran for over 400 on his own. So, they're going to have to play kind of a ball control, stick to the ground, try to shorten up the game a little bit. Hopefully they can force a couple of Alabama mistakes, take advantage of some turnovers. But they have a good offensive line, got guys with a lot of experience, Liam Eichenberg, Tommy Kramer and company. So they got a good group that they can kind of rely on. It's just they got to be able to, move those chains a little bit on the ground and shorten the game up. And they're capable of doing it. They did it against Clemson earlier in the year. Yeah. They've had some really good wins. At North Carolina, they were convincing. So they certainly have the offense that's capable of moving the ball, even against a good Alabama defense.
That's true. This is a different offense than the previous stages where Notre Dame came up short in big games. So 2 years ago, when Notre Dame got blown out in the playoff by Clemson, they were 33rd in offensive SP+. In 2012, when they got blown out by Alabama in the BCS championship, they were 35th. This year, they're 13th. So this is a legitimately good offense. You mentioned Kyren Williams on the ground. Michael Mayer and Tommy Tremble, good duo at tight end. Yeah. You got Baby Gronk there. So it's a good offense. Like they can put up points.
Yeah. Their offensive line is arguably as good as there is in college football, right up there with Alabama. And I like your point, Ryan. They need to take advantage of that offensive line and kind of shorten the game. They need to dictate the tempo. That's really going to be their only chance because we know how lethal Alabama is.
They got to keep Alabama's
with the ball. The and you mentioned Ian Book. He's the only Power 5 quarterback this year to have at least 240 pass attempts with 2 or fewer interceptions. So to your point, he's really kept control of the ball. And then also his running ability is an asset. And with Bama's defense, we've seen them get exposed in a couple games at Florida just last week, Ole Miss earlier in the year. So they're not invincible on the defense.
Yep, that's for sure. All right, let's move on to Notre Dame's defense. Very good under Clark Lee. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah just won the Butkus Award at linebacker, so he's a great leader. Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties in the country. Hopefully his ankle injury from the Clemson game is fully healed. He's supposed to be good to go as we record this. And they've got a lot of really good players on the D line. Dalen Hayes and Ogundeji on the outside. Tungavaloa Amosa in the middle. They're loaded across the board, so they have the ability to get stops against any offense.
They do, but it wouldn't hurt if Mac Jones, Najee Harris, and Devontae Smith sprain their ankle before the game.
Yeah.
No, but they could rely on one of their front 7. They can cause havoc on Mac Jones, maybe get a little pressure because if they can win that turnover battle, which Ryan you mentioned earlier, that's only going to help their case. Really, that's one of their only chances here. And it would by applying that pressure, though, it would really relieve some of the pressure on their own back end with their corners, Lewis and McLeod. Don't let them be out in space with some of those vaunted Alabama receivers. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but that'll be their game plan.
Yeah, you guys touched on it. Their defense is really good. They're good at every level. There's no real glaring weakness that you can really point to here about for Notre Dame. I like their linebacking group. Drew White and Owusu-Koramoah is a stud. So they just, they've got some talent. It'll be interesting to see how if they can really slow down here. I mean, we've seen Alabama make some defenses look kind of like fools that are actually really good defenses. So I do think Notre Dame, though, will prepare well for this one. They have so much talent, so I think they can maybe do better than a team like Florida did. I think Notre Dame definitely has a better defense than Florida, so we can see them. It's like Georgia. Georgia was slowed Alabama down a little bit and kind of made that game interesting. So I can see Notre Dame doing like that.
Yeah, and just kind of like another factor, not necessarily about the offense or defense or anything like that, is obviously every team's going to be motivated going into a playoff. You got everything to play for, but no one is giving Notre Dame a chance in this game, right? They're almost like a 20-point dog. So if there's any kind of chip on your shoulder, nobody believes in us factor, then I guess that would apply here.
Hopefully they can let it loose, man. And
like
there's on offense and defense, take some chances, let it fly.
If I'm an Irish fan, I'm hanging my hat on what they did to North Carolina. Like, not that North Carolina is Alabama, but they were able to shut them down for the most part. So I would have that in my head. The other thing is they know the narrative. They know that they haven't won these big games. They know that what they just did against Clemson isn't good enough. I'm expecting Brian Kelly and the crew to add a few wrinkles. They went into the ACC title kind of confident that they would get in the playoff, but now they didn't really have their backs against the wall. Now they do. And like you said, they got nothing to lose really at this point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Enough with the positivity. Let's get to those reasons why Notre Dame will not win the national championship.
Well, I mean, one of their weaknesses or where they've been a little shaky is in that secondary. Trevor Lawrence just exposed them a good amount last week. I mean, what can you do to slow down this three-headed monster of Bama? It's just so hard. You pick your poison because, no one has, first of all, slowed them down really at all this year. So if you focus all your attention on Najee Harris, Mac Jones is throwing it over your head to streaking receivers. And it's just, even if they say they do magically beat Alabama, then they'd have to face the Clemson team that they just got smoked to. So it's a very tough road.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe Notre Dame secondary isn't maybe elite, but they're still solid. But I guess it's when you're going up against Bama, it is a weak point considering who they're going up. Considering what they trot out on the field. I also think if you look at it from the other side, you got to have Notre Dame's offense here. I don't know if they have the firepower on the outside to really stretch the field a little bit against Alabama, who has a very good secondary. Patrick Surtain is a stud, and then they also had some young guys step up this year that we kind of thought that secondary was going to be weak, but they turned out to be pretty good. So, you got Ben Skowronek and Javon McKinley on the outside for Notre Dame. They're solid players, no doubt about it, but they're not.
They need Claypool back.
Yeah, they need a guy like Claypool. They're not something that Alabama hasn't seen. They just got done playing against Florida with some elite talent, which Florida moved the ball quite well, but just don't know if they have the weapons to stretch that Bama D.
Yeah, that's the thing for me is like we say, they have good weapons, but you're going up against one of the best offenses, I mean, in several years in college football. So, and they don't have like what Ole Miss had, with Elijah Moore. They don't have that great of a passing game compared to Ole Miss. And then with Florida, like you said, with Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, like the teams that have given Bama a run for their money this year have just had unbelievably explosive offenses. And Notre Dame's capable of that, but I don't know if we can necessarily count on it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Let's, we've talked about the good and the bad. Let's make our ultimate predictions here. So reveal those on the screen. And
wow.
We made these all separately. We did not discuss them. This is the first time Trey and Ryan are seeing these.
That is incredible.
Very, very similar scores. So Ryan, why don't you talk about your rationale?
That's crazy. I had 49, and then I was like, at the last second, I'm like, yeah, I'll make it 42. Make it a little more respectable. Well, I just feel like when you look at these two teams, Notre Dame does have a solid defense, right? So they can slow Bama a little bit, but they're not going to shut them out. So I still think 42 is relatively slowing them down.
It is. It's not bad.
So it's like, okay, that's pretty solid effort. And on the flip side, giving them 21 points. They like we've talked about, they have a solid offense. Bama's not like some elite defense that they can't move the ball against. So They may get a late touchdown or something like that. But so this game will be well in hand. Bama will win relatively easily, but it won't be like a complete annihilation in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. My score, obviously very similar, 42-24. This is Michael speaking. And, I just don't quite trust Notre Dame's offense to keep up with the big three, as we talked about, Alabama, and they've got the best O-line in the country. So I think it's a tough ask. That's why I went with my score.
And yeah, I went with 42-24 as well, because I think Notre Dame will get a little bit outclassed, but it's hard not to against them. But like I said before, the reason I made it this score, though, is because I'm giving them the nod to get over the hurdle and cover this spread. They know the narrative. They're going to, chips are all in here, and I think they're going to do just enough to cover here. So it'll be respectable. All
right. You never know. I mean, 20-point favorites sometimes make it a game. We just saw Florida was a 17-point, dogs. Florida was a 17-point dog against Bama and almost won it. So
a few breaks, man, and that's all it takes. It can happen. So.
All right. Well, thanks for watching the College Football Bros. Again, give us your score predictions in the comments, your reasons why. Smash that thumbs up button if you appreciate the content here, and we will see you next time.
You've been watching the College Football Bros. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and in your podcast app for college football content all year round. For bonus episodes and access to our Discord chat, join our Patreon at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. Thanks for watching.